All right, guys, welcome to episode number 7 of our Jacksonville Jaguars rebuilding series. As you can see, today we're doing things just a little bit differently. This past week, I was under the weather just a little bit, and in addition to moving all of my recording equipment to a new space, I had very little room on my hard drive. So the reality is, normally what I do during this portion of the video is I have all of our clips from the off season put together in my editing software, and then I do commentary over top before going to the live draft, and then finally a conclusion section where I go through the roster and I just show you exactly what's what. The reality is that the final 2 sections of the video are exactly like that. I live recorded the draft, which you guys really liked last time, so that'll be there. Don't worry. We're going to cut to that once I've done this practice where I go through some of the changes that happened this offseason. As you can see on screen, the player we have returning this kick is not Dexter McCluster. Dexter McCluster was not offered a new contract. That is Brandon Banks, who we signed in free agency. What I'm going to do is on the PDF I've listed, because I couldn't record again all this. We had so much. I had little, just a small amount of hard drive space. I didn't have the ability to record all of these things. So as you can see, you see some names up on the screen that you haven't seen before. Those are brand new players, and there's quite a few changes that have been made to this team. I'm going to start running through them. We're going to start off with player re-signings. For all the guys on our team who needed new deals, again, this is all in the PDF. Marcus White, Blaine Gabbert, Cameron Bradfield, Perry Riley, and DeMarcus Van Dyke were the top 5 guys, all 80-plus players, and I would have liked to have all of them back. The reality was Marcus White wanted a decent amount of coin. He wanted $6.6 million over 4 years. We did make him a $7 million offer. Excuse me. Over that period of time, he turned that down because there wasn't any more than $1 million guaranteed. In free agency, he signed away. He signed with the Carolina Panthers for actually less money. So him going to free agency actually hurt him. But this year he did find another team who was willing to take him, and so he signed away. He's not coming back. There you can see Denard Robinson. We did sign a halfback, but we'll get to that in a moment. Blaine Gabbert, meanwhile, wanted more than $5 million to come back per season. We were obviously not willing to give that to him with the emergence of Juan Delian, rookie last season, winning AFC Offensive Player of the Year. He ended up signing Gabbert, that is, in Cleveland for $23 million over 4 years. So he cashes in with the Browns. Good for him, but not with us. We were able to get some of these guys re-signed. However, for example, we were able to sign DeMarcus Van Dyke. He wanted a 3-year deal worth just about $5 million. We gave him $5.25 and just under $1 million guaranteed, $750,000 guaranteed to that contract. So he's back as our ridiculously fast developmental corner, which is wonderful. Perry Riley wanted huge money to back up Darrell Washington. Granted, he did a great job last year, but he wanted $13 million over 4 seasons, so he was not offered a contract. Neither was Cameron Bradfield, the right tackle, who was backing up Luke Jokel. He wanted about $4 million a season. We were not willing to pay him that, and so for that reason, he was not offered a deal. And as you can see here, Michael Crabtree. Yes, I said Michael Crabtree breaking that run. We'll get to that in a moment. Roy Miller turned down a contract. He wanted to come back for $6.6 million over 4 seasons. It's the same amount that was being sought after by Marcus White. And Roy Miller turned down a contract that would have paid him just about that. Not a lot of guaranteed money, but he's gone. He's actually still a free agent. He did not get signed anywhere. We were able to sign Corey Fuller, a developmental wide receiver for us, 6'2", 92 speed. Good guy to have around as a developmental guy. We signed him for 3 years, $3.1 million with just $425,000 guaranteed. So he'll stick around for the next few years. And in a bit of a surprising move, we had talked about moving on from Chris Brzezinski at the backup strong safety spot. The reality was Brzezinski came to us wanting $3.3 million over 3 seasons. We were not willing to give that to him, at least not overpay as you traditionally do past that point. So we, on a whim, offered him a 3-year contract worth $3 million. So no guaranteed money and paying him less. And he must have really wanted to come back and play for this squad because he accepted that contract, which is phenomenal. Hey, more the merrier. So he's back, so we have some really nice depth at that spot, that corner spot, or pardon me, that strong safety spot behind rookie sensation Jonathan Cyprin. So he's back. Other guys who were not offered new contracts, Will Rackley, who wanted big money to come back as a backup left guard, Mohamed Massaquoi, Joe Hawley, the center, Dexter McCluster, and that was that. So we get some guys back. We miss out on a couple guys we wanted, but no really key guys, starters leaving, and we were able to get some of our developmental guys under contract, which was great. In free agency, we targeted 8 players. Not really many guys who are going to start for us or who we were hoping to have start for us, but mostly guys who are going to come in and be depth players. One big guy we wanted to sign, who we were able to sign, was Justin Tucker, kicker formerly of the Baltimore Ravens, who just kicked that winning field goal in practice. He accepted a deal worth $16 million over 5 seasons. It's a lot of money to pay to a kicker, just over $3 million a year, and $10 million of that deal is guaranteed. However, he's just 25 years of age. He's one of the best kickers in the league. He's got insane kicking power. He'll be great. He's already got 4 consistency, which is wonderful news. Certainly an upgrade over Josh Scobie. Stephen Ridley signed with us, halfback, formerly of the New England Patriots. We were able to get him for a very nice dollar amount, just $7.8 million over 3 years. And not a lot of that money is really guaranteed. He is just making $1.8 million guaranteed over the next couple of seasons, which is very nice for us. I'm just going to keep bouncing around these screens, by the way, as we go through things. Ray Lewis, coming out of retirement to the NFL, accepted a contract that will pay him $2.8 million for 1 season with us. So he's Ray Lewis, future Hall of Famer, coming out of retirement to back up Darrell Washington. He's an impressive 93 overall. Wasn't listed as an 86 overall in free agency. We ended up getting him. He's coming in at his awareness is 98. This is a guy who's, I mean, what can you say about him? Other than that, we signed Brandon Banks, as we said, as a returner. A very small coin. Byron Bell came in as a developmental right tackle. We signed a left guard named John Moffitt for a small amount of money. He's since been cut. And Vaughn Martin comes in a defensive tackle, 82 overall, signing for 2 years, $3.5 million, $750,000 of which is guaranteed to back up Jesse Williams and Linval Joseph, filling in for Roy Miller's old spot. From there, we went to the draft. We'll get to that coverage in just a moment. Turning you over to past Tuxedo T-Shirt. Just another quick update in terms of players who are gone. Darren Sproles retired, which is why we had to make the move for Ridley. Again, we'll get to all that in a moment. Cameron Bradfield signed in Tennessee for $14.4 million over 4 seasons. We've already gotten to Gabbard and White, but Perry Riley, backup middle linebacker, he got $11.3 million for over 4 years from Pittsburgh. So congrats to those former Jags, just guys, backups who we could not afford anymore. Moving on. From there, I'll take you to past Tuxedo T-Shirt, who's going to take you through the draft, and then we'll come back to this screen. We'll get you through the rosters. We'll get you through the injury report. The only thing I need to report before the draft is that we're going to, and by the way, I preface all the draft coverage by going through all the scouting, all of our goals, our plan for the draft, everything. So that'll all be there in just a moment. But we did make a trade before the draft. We sent our first round pick that we originally had acquired from, I think it was Dallas. I could be wrong on that. Last season, which was going to be the 24th overall pick. We traded that as well as our second-round pick and Josh Scobie, who was made expendable by the Justin Tucker signing, to the New York Jets in exchange for the 4th overall pick. So going into this draft, we made that move, getting rid of basically burning a second-round pick to move up 20 spots from 24 to 4th. Essentially what we did. So we go into the draft with 2 picks in the top 11 at 4th and 11. And then from there, a pick in the 3rd round, which is our original pick, 2 in the 4th, 1 in the 5th, 1 in the 6th. And with that being said, with that trade being in the books, again, all this is reflected in the PDF. I know we're moving a little fast because this is not our normal way of demonstrating this information. By the way, let me know in the comments if you like this format more than the previous one. or if you like it less, that's also perfectly fine to say. It's just different because, again, craziness got in the way this week, and I did not want to have this video out late because I hate having late videos being uploaded to my channel. I like to have the schedule, and so you guys can rely on that and everything else. With that being said, that trade being announced, I'll turn it over to past Tuxedo T-Shirt. All right, thank you, future Tuxedo T-Shirt. We are getting this NFL draft started, ready to go. Here we go, boom. Now, we are quickly at the start of this draft. Let's try that again. Boom. Okay, there we go. Now the NFL draft has started. As you can see, there we are selecting 4th overall. We're going to start things off, excuse me, now that we've paused it, by checking out the draft board because I've kept you guys in the dark so far in terms of scouting. Also, just before recording this segment of the video, I was enjoying a Pepsi Next. It's like Pepsi, only they combine regular Pepsi and Diet Pepsi. It's just okay, but it might be a little burpy, so I apologize in advance for that. Anyways, let's get to it. Here we go. So the reason we traded up, as we talked about, was to select a certain individual highly in this draft. We're looking for a pass rusher with things going down, and the reality is the person who I'm looking to draft, who I think would serve our interests best, is this individual, Earl Zoe Shorter. He's 6'4", 266 out of Kansas State, and he is slated to go 7th overall, which is why we traded up, hopefully high enough to get him. There is a backup plan in case he goes a little too soon. However, as you can see, this dude is unbelievable. He's got very good pass rushing skills. His finesse moves, power moves are both A's, which means 88 or higher. His block shedding is pretty good. His tackling and his pursuit are great. Or sorry, his play recognition is great, which means his run stopping skills are also going to be quite solid. Speed of 81, strength of 82, and acceleration of 85. His agility also in the B's, which means that I think the worst they could be is a 78. So his physical's very good as far as a pass rusher is concerned. Awareness of a C. Stamina of a C is the only area that I have some concern for this particular player. One thing I love about him, though, is his high motor trait is a 1. High motor trait is very important as far as pass rushers are concerned. Basically, what a pass rusher trait indicates is the frequency with which players will take off plays. If they don't have a high motor, they're going to take certain plays off, not try as hard. And if they do have it loaded or they do have it upgraded, then they will try on every play. If we go to the left ends, this is our backup plan. Desmond Hutchins, actually scheduled to go higher than Mr. Shorter. However, to me, Desmond Hutchins, he's a little younger, just 21. His moves aren't as good, C and a B respectively. His pursuit and his tackling are ugly. The reason he is slated to go so high, however, is his speed rating of 90, strength of 81, and his agility is an A. His acceleration is actually worse at an 80. However, to me, he is more of a project player. His play progression, he does have the high motor trait, which is good. Also, high motor traits are expensive to purchase with points, which is another reason why it's great to find guys who have them already. But his moves are decent. To me, he's the perfect example of a pass rusher who's just a physical freak. But aside from that, needs a lot of work. Tackling and pursuit right now are not usable. And we want somebody who can hopefully come in and play right away, or at least rotate in and out. The third backup plan is Demir Stalin. Demir Stalin, 6'7", 270 or 275, a bit of a bigger cat. His moves are equally as good as Hutchins. Only he's more of a complete player at this point. His downside is he doesn't have the same physical freak of nature skills. His speed is still good, 79, and he's actually one of the stronger pass rushers in the class at 83, and his acceleration of 81, not bad at all. His stamina is also an A, though he lacks that all-important high motor skills. So Stalin, though I hesitate to draft someone with the last name Stalin, like you couldn't have picked a better name, Madden, really. He will be our selection at 4th overall if Shorter and Hutchins are drafted. Following that, we kept our 11th overall pick. That is our original draft pick, and that will be Rob Hardy, who's slated to go 24th overall. This will be the second straight year we're drafting an interior offensive lineman with a top 15 pick. However, I find it to be necessary, and here's why. Rob Hardy, run blocking and impact blocking, which are hugely important for run blocking, both solid, and a strength rating of 97. To put that in perspective, the next best strength in this draft class of centers is 1B, which means that it's 87 or less from Gerard Pendleton. 97 strength. I don't think I've ever seen a center with strength that solid. And the rest of his physical ratings: acceleration of a C, agility of a C, injury of an A is great. Awareness of a C, not bad at all for a rookie. This is going to be our starter at center, provided he's available at 11th, which is where he should be. And though those are our two biggest needs. Our third biggest need to me is halfback. Though that need has been reduced from the successful signing of running back Stephen Ridley. But with that being said, I would like to use our third-round pick on David Armstrong. As you can see, we've spent a lot of points scouting these running backs, looking for the perfect size of, it's probably a perfect combination of speed and size. We're not terribly happy with Markeith Hickman, last year's pick, who I think was also a third-round selection. And to me, David Armstrong is the guy. He's got great physicals, 95 speed, 90 acceleration. His agility is a little low, but his strength isn't bad for a running back. And he's got a nice balance of moves. He's got decent hands with a C. For a running back, a C is pretty good as far as hands are concerned. His stamina is a bit of a concern. But to me, this is a guy who we're not bringing in to be an every down back. For us, Ridley is going to be our every down back this year. Robinson's going to work in and around as well. However, this could be a nice developmental guy and somebody to come in off the bench. Because as we've learned with this series, there are a lot of injuries that take place with this team, unfortunately. Moving on from that, we have our defensive tackle, Jameel Blessingame, is going to be one of our selections. We were able to sign a defensive tackle in free agency, Vaughn Martin, coming over to help us there. However, this is a kid that I just don't want to pass up. He seems really solid. 6'3", 231. I love his size. I love the fact that he's already 23, a little older. He's a 3-4 guy. So oversized, but his strength is a 90, which is great. His block shedding is already a B, which is really, really key. Power moves are just a C. Not a guy who's going to rush the passer a whole lot, but a guy who can come in and just be a blob for us in the middle of the defensive line. That's about as good as you can hope for as far as a defensive tackle drafted in the 4th or 5th round is concerned. Could be a good guy, especially with Brandon Dieterich's contract expiring this year as our 4th guy. After that, we have a quarterback I'd like to select, and we're going to go way down the list here. Ronald Barker, who's slated to go with the second last pick of the draft. This is a cat who I found way at the bottom. I was just looking for kind of in the bottom of the barrel for quarterbacks because with Blaine Gabbert leaving the team in free agency, we need to bring 1 or 2 arms on board. And Ronald Barker, again, way down at the bottom of the draft out of Clemson, he's got decent throwing power with 90. His accuracy, not bad. And you'll see here as we go down the list, awareness, not bad at all. Excuse me. As I said, I would be burpy for this video. Just all like he's nothing special. 6'2", 239. Not a dominant prospect, but my goodness, for a guy this down low in the draft. Spencer Bars, another guy who's there. I think we're going to try and take him in the 6th round if we can. Spencer Bars, the issue with him is his awareness is an F. So he's going to take some development, but I would like to try and snag both these guys. Keep them on the depth chart, and then a couple seasons from now, see if we can trade one for a decent pick. Or if not, again, as we've said, there's a lot of injuries. You never know who you're going to need. And right now, with just 2 quarterbacks on the depth chart, we'd love to bring somebody in. Aside from that, we have a couple extra picks. At that point, I'm probably just going to take somebody who's highest on the list. That usually doesn't bode well necessarily for finding quality players. But you know what? It's a 6th rounder for a reason. So here we go. We'll unpause the draft, and let's go ahead. Let's take a leap of faith here. Advance to next user pick. And fortunately for us, no pass rushers taken so far. The first pick was left tackle Kerry Hostrip. Next pick, Claudison Dancy, Garrison Saint next. And it's time to make our selection. So here we go. With the 4th overall pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars, who traded up for this particular selection. We'll draft Earlzo Shorter out of Kansas State, and he will come to not just be a pure pass rusher, though we do need a better pass rush on this team. Though part of that reason is injuries, of course. But a guy who can actually, do a really good job of stopping the run as well. I think one of the issues we've had in the last season or two is that Gibson and Branch coming off the ends, both guys who have a lot of natural ability with rushing and such, but just not guys who can always do a good job of stopping the run. This is fascinating. So the 11th pick is up, and as we'll see here, Desmond Hutchins, who was slated to go 3rd overall, has fallen down the list, as is Tyler McCabe, quarterback out of Kansas. I am so tempted. I will not do it, but I'm so tempted to draft Desmond Hutchins and just have 2 ridiculous pass rushers come through and tear everything apart. As it stands, though, we are going to select Rob Hardy with the 11th overall pick, who will start at center for us this year and should complete the package. We started off in Jacksonville with very, very little in the way of talent in the interior offensive line, and we've slowly built that up with the trade for right guard Brandon Mosley, the drafting of Keithan Cross last year, the acquisition of fullback Marcel Reese was big last year, and now we've added our center. We've tried out other guys, but now for the first time we really have a complete set of truly powerful run blockers in the middle of the offensive line, and that is phenomenal. Now we're going to see about 2,000 picks go by. We again traded away our 2nd pick, as you saw earlier this video, in order to acquire the selection of 4th overall. So here we go, 3rd rounder. Let's see. We're hoping to select, with this selection, David Armstrong, the halfback, who's slated to go in the 4th round. So he should still be available. If he's not, it wouldn't shock me. As you can see, a lot of these guys fall down. All of these guys were slated to be drafted already, including a 1st rounder, Reed Brunetti, a 5'9", 199 wide receiver out of Utah. So let's go ahead to the running back situation, and let's check it out. David Armstrong, boom. Also, let me know what you guys think of this draft class that I've put together. As you can see, I'm a big fan of drafting guys ahead of time and drafting to fill draft needs. I know some people will look at the draft board. We're just going to take a look at it here really quickly, and they'll say, oh, you should never draft to fill your needs because, you always have to take the most talented player available. Well, the reality is that a lot of these guys who sit on the board forever and become increasingly stale do not pan out. I know, for example, for us last season, we had one last pick, and we selected Torrey Meyer, right outside linebacker. After one whole season of development, he's up to 74. He's a guy who I think we drafted in the 6th round, who was slated to go in the 2nd round, and he fell 4 entire rounds to us. So sometimes those guys who fall for a reason. But if you do disagree with me, then let me know, and I'd be happy to discuss that with you in the comments. Here, with our 4th rounder, this is the pick we got from Cincinnati in a trade from last season. We're going to go for Mr. Blessingame in the defensive tackle category, and he is gone. Blessingame is gone. He has been selected, so we do not hit on that pick. And that means we're going to have to get creative here. I'm going to go ahead to the quarterback section, and we have the pick. We have 107, and then we have pick 112. So our 2 picks just 5 selections away. We're going to select Ronald Barker, who's picked way, way, way ahead of where he was slated to go. But the reality is he's a hot quarterback prospect. Not a blue chip guy, not a for sure starter in this league, but for a guy who is slated to go late 7th, wow. Huge skill. So 5 picks later, here we go. Let's, by the way, check out if we can see where Mr. Blessingame went, the defensive tackle Blessingame, who was slated to go with the first pick of the 7th round, first pick of the 5th round. He was selected in the 3rd round, 25th overall by the Raiders. So the Raiders picking him actually about 15 slots before we were going to pick him. So I did not book enough time. He was when you got a defensive tackle with that kind of strength, I guess they're going to go. I suppose the best thing to do at this point is try and find a tackle up on the board. As I said earlier in this video, unfortunately, Eugene Monroe likely going to miss the entire 2015 NFL season, this entire upcoming season, because of a serious injury where he blew out his knee, his entire PCL. I'm not even sure what that is, to be perfectly honest. And so I think the best thing we can do is just try and build up some depth at the tackle position. And let's start off by now Luke Jokel. I should say that. I think I said that earlier in the video, or I will say it because I haven't recorded it yet, which is why I said thank you, future Tuxedo T-Shirt, at the beginning of this video. It's likely that Luke Jokel is going to take over that left tackle spot and be just fine there, but that means we need another right tackle. So let's go ahead. Let's draft Andy Visa, 6'5", 313. As you can see, I did not scout any of these guys. Reason being, I was not aware that Eugene Monroe was injured until right before this draft, and his name popped up for some reason on the screen, and he still had his little injury icon, and I said, wait, what the heck? Why does he still have that? And, yeah, that's the reality. So let's go ahead to next user pick. We have two more selections. Our fifth rounder, pick 129. Here it is. To me, this pick, we don't necessarily need the second quarterback on our list. However, it would be nice to get both. We can carry 4 quarterbacks. I'm a big believer that Spencer Bars is available. So Spencer Bars with the F awareness has been selected. And with our last pick, we have one more that's in the 6th round. We're going to, let's see. I think the best place to go would be middle linebacker. We only have 2 middle linebackers under contract at the moment. But then again, there might just be somebody way, way, way up on the draft board who is, was supposed to go in the 2nd round. They still haven't gone yet, and who knows? Maybe they'll actually have talent. And there they are, Tavares Solomon, 6'7", 329. That's going to be a 3-4 guy. I'm not terribly interested in him. Quentin Darren, Ricardo Verducci, 6'1", 204 out of Bucknell. I don't know. If there's any positions where we need players, they are not strong safety or wide receiver. What about middle linebacker? Let's just check out middle linebacker, because I would like, especially with Ray Lewis's age, I would like to draft somebody there. Let's go ahead. Let's take Logan Riddick. He's projected to go 6th round, 30th overall. But I like his size. He's 6'2", 240. And I did scout a little bit of some of these guys. He's only 20 years old. His tackling is a C. His acceleration is a C, which is pretty awful as well. However, that's what all these guys are going to be like this late in the draft. Very rarely that you find a guy who's really worth drafting, because all the guys with great physicals and no skills are going to be drafted, by the 4th round. They're not going to slip to 5 and 6. So that's that, folks. That's our draft. We draft a couple guys who we didn't think were, or a couple guys who were just on the board who we didn't scout. I normally never do that. However, with Eugene Monroe being gone, I felt it necessary. But mostly for that, certainly at the top of the draft, we get the guys we're looking for, which is great. So I'll turn it back over to future Tuxedo T-Shirt, and he'll show you how the rest of the roster shaped up. Until then, take it away, future Tuxedo T-Shirt. All right, thank you, past Tuxedo T-Shirt. So that brings us to my favorite part of the video, taking you guys through our completed roster, through the rest of our transactions to get us to this point. Quick note, we're going to start off, because what I've done here is I've gone through the whole preseason, as I think you guys saw, and so we have some injuries, and the injuries are pertinent because they affected some of the moves we made. First of all, I announced this on my Twitter feed during the week. One of the things I did not know, and you can see it right here, is that last year, Eugene Monroe, we knew that he got injured at the end of last season. What we did not know is that it was an extremely serious injury. Eugene Monroe, in the final game of last year, a season in which he had 3 different injuries before having this one come up, he was out at the end of last year for an entire season. Literally 1 calendar year is the schedule for his recovery from a complete PCL tear, basically just destroying his knee. And so he will miss the entire 2015 NFL campaign, the one that is about to get underway. So that informs some of our moves. Also, in addition to that, both the other left tackles who we employ, Marcel Jones, a holdover from last year, and Bruce Campbell, who we acquired in a trade I'm about to talk about, are injured, which makes the opening of the season very interesting. Also, Keithan Cross, starting left guard, our first pick from last season, is out for the first 5 weeks. Torrey Meyer, backup right outside linebackers, hurt, and halfback Stephen Ridley, who we acquired in free agency and who we'll talk about in a moment, is out for 3 weeks, which is why Denard Robinson was starting the practice earlier in this video. Anyways, with that being said, I'll stop keeping you guys in suspense in case you've yet to check out the PDF. I'm quickly going to run these things down. The reason I bring up the injuries is because the first trade we made was for Bruce Campbell, that left tackle. He was on the trade block, and we acquired him from the Raiders for just a 4th-round pick, a really great value for him. Campbell is under contract for the next 3 seasons at just $6.8 million. So he's making just over $2 million a year, and he's not a dominant left tackle, but he's good enough to start. Certainly good enough to start in a pinch, which is what he'll be doing for us. So we get a really good value in that trade. Anyways, we'll go position by position now. As you can see, Spencer Barr's quarterback not here. Spencer Barr's was in the mid-60s in terms of his overall, and so he was cut as part of our final cut. So I'll also say this: our final cuts this season were super hard to make. We have so much depth at so many positions, even with some guys leaving in free agency. We had to cut some players I really, really wanted to keep, Spencer Barrs being one of them. So the 5th-round pick from this past year's draft, or our 5th-round pick, cut. The fortunate part of that is that Ronald Barker, who was slated to go in the late 7th round, is a 77 after the preseason, because keep in mind I've upgraded these players all since the preseason with the points they got. The 6'2", 239 Clemson product is a 77 overall player as a rookie. He's got 90 throwing power. His accuracy is suspect past the short marker, but we've already got his awareness up to 76. And he's got decent mobility, decent strength for a quarterback. I mean, we're not looking for a franchise guy, but he could be a very good backup or one hell of a trading chip in a season or two from now. And the best part is he's making a very small amount of money. As you can see, Juan Delian, Matt Scott back, no change there. Stephen Ridley, you can see him. He signed again with us this past offseason, 3 years, $7.8 million. I'm going to put, by the way, right here, I'm going to put a list of the free agents who came up because I did take a quick note of the free agents who appeared on the list this year, and there were some insane free agents that came up. One of the guys I did not talk about before the draft coverage, to whom we made an offer, was Justin Houston, 26 years old, 99 overall, the left end position. He was seeking huge money, and because we have a lot of cap space, I was really seriously considering just backing up the truck and picking up this guy and paying him the $13 million a season he wanted to come and play for us. The reality is we offered him, I decided not to do that. Instead, we offered him a one year, fully guaranteed $11 million deal. Just as a means of having him here for one season. That way, we have the choice of investing in him again if it's worth it. If not, if he has a bad season, it's a 1 year and done. And we have the cap space, so we may as well use it for one season. It's not a long-term commitment. However, he re-signed with the Raiders, 6 years, $95 million. And so he was the only player in free agency. And again, this is reflected on the PDF. He was the only player in free agency who turned us down, signing with another team. But Stephen Ridley, there were other players available at the running back position, at least one of whom was better. However, he was available, 86 overall, just 26 years of age, so he's got some time left. He's a guy who's a great balance of size and speed and strength as well. Strength of 80 for a guy who's only 5'11", 225 is great. It's a great number. Excuse me, as you can see, I'm under the weather. Or here, not see. But strong carrying ability, great trucking ability, stiff arm is phenomenal. Just a great series of moves. He's a guy who needs to have his catching ability upgraded a bit, but part of what we're doing this season is we're moving to more of a spread offense. With Juan Delian's throw power being a little higher than some of our other quarterbacks, I'd like to change, especially with the depth we have at wide receiver now. I'll get to that in a moment. He could, I think, be very effective as a running back in this system. Denard Robinson, a very competent backup. And there's Davon Armstrong, who was selected by us in the 3rd round. Like Markeith Hickman, not the dominant prospect we were hoping he'd be. He's got great speed, decent strength, again, for a guy his size, just 5'11", 204. 74 strength is pretty good. He lacks agility, but his acceleration is very nice, and as time goes on, we'll keep working on these things. So far, all his points have gone into carrying because his carrying was awful when he got here. And last season's selection, Markeith Hickman, still on the depth chart. No change at the fullback spot. Marcel Reese still there. And here's where things got interesting. We were able to bring in Michael Crabtree because, as anyone who's played this game knows, certain players who do not get signed in free agency, Michael Crabtree, for instance, was looking for, and he'll be on that list I just showed, the visual of the free agents who came up, because there were some amazing free agents across the league who came up, some of whom were demanding just astronomical amounts of money. Crabtree was looking for more than $10 million a season, didn't get it, which means that after the draft, he was still a free agent, and so he was willing to sign with anybody for a certain amount of money. The reality is we were able to sign him for one season and just $3.9 million. Going into this offseason, I said there's no reason for us to pick up a wide receiver. Blackman and Shorts have been excellent. Drake Haskell was great as a rookie in the slot. And unfortunately, as you can see, Ace Sanders was cut by the team. Ace Sanders was an up-and-coming wide receiver, just 5'7", little kind of prototype guy. The reality is he was one of our final cuts. We tried to trade him, couldn't find a trade partner. So what I'm hoping for is that if somebody does get hurt this year and placed on IR, that'll fill up a roster, or that'll open up a roster spot, and we can bring him back. I would really like to keep him on the team. However, he at this point will be is not a member of this team any longer. You can see Corey Fuller here, who has re-upped this offseason as a developmental guy, and then Brandon Banks, our returner, taking the spot vacated by Dexter McCluster. Banks has ridiculous speed and is one of the best returners in the game. 97 speed, he's got 96 agility, 98 acceleration. His return skills 96, so he should be the dominant returner we were hoping McCluster was going to be and didn't end up being. But with that said, Michael Crabtree, what this allows us to do is decide what we want to do at the end of the season. Cecil Shorts re-upped with us last season for a relatively cheap contract. Shorts is making, over the next 4 seasons, just $15 million, and not a whole lot guaranteed, just $3.2 million guaranteed. Justin Blackman also just re-upped with us. Because we started the season, we yet to play a regular season game, but we were able to renegotiate with some guys whose contracts were set to expire at the end of the season. Justin Blackman re-signed with us. He's one of 2 players who just re-signed with us. He re-signed for 5 years and $22.5 million, 5 of which was guaranteed. Because he was a player who was drafted, still on his rookie deal, but drafted before the regulated contracts were coming in. He was actually already making good money, so he's actually not really taking a raise. He's just still getting good money to play wide receiver. Even then, for a guy of his production, perennial 1,000-yard receiver, paying him just over $4 million a season is a laugh for us. So what we get to do this season is, this is how I've put the depth chart. If Crabtree does not produce, we're going to trade him away, and he'll just be a great trade chip for us. Some other team can take him out as a rental or trade for him and then pay him. Who knows? Or if he's great for us and Shorts is dominating in the slot. And again, with us going to a spread offense, Drake Haskell will get a lot more opportunities as the 4th receiver. Then we can just field these 4 amazing receivers at season's end. We can re-up Michael Crabtree for big money and just have this dominant group of guys. Because we have Blackman and Shorts, 2 perennial 1,000-yard receivers. We got Drake Haskell, who was great in the slot last year, catching for more than 450 yards as a rookie at just the age of 21. And now we had Crabtree in the mix. It's pretty great. Again, I regret not being able to re-sign Ace Sanders or keep him, but unfortunately that's just the way the dice work sometimes. No change at the tight end position. Taylor Thompson, however, a guy who is underproduced in past years, is in the final year of his contract, and when I look to re-up him, he wants more than $5 million a season to come back. The reality to me is he's not worth anywhere close to that unless he produces a whole lot this year. And by a whole lot, I'm talking 1,000 yards plus. Last season, he put up just over 300. Not acceptable. So look for Derek Carrier to expand his role potentially. And if Thompson doesn't, which I don't suspect he will, because it's rare that guys just overnight are suddenly 1,000-yard tight end receivers. then look for us to draft somebody in his place. At the left tackle position, as you can see, Bruce Campbell there, 27 years of age, 86 overall, pass blocking 85, run blocking 80, so not a dominant blocker like Eugene Monroe is. However, his physicals are just off the charts. As a guy who's 315 pounds, he has 73 speed and 90 acceleration. I looked up Bruce Campbell's original like real life draft history and such, as I do with all our players. He was originally drafted in 2010 by the Oakland Raiders, and at the combine he ran a 4.75 40, which is ridiculous. I don't know why anybody didn't convert him to a pass rusher, because his strength was good. I think he had 34 lifts of the 225 mark, and you can see his strength is 89. I don't know why somebody didn't convert him to a 3-4 left end or right end or something, because he would be unstoppable with that speed as a pass rusher. He's currently actually out of the league in real life, but for us, he's going to have to be our starting left tackle for the balance of the season once he is healthy. Left guard, the only change here is that we signed somebody to John Moffitt to come in and back up Keithan Cross, and he was one of our final cuts along with A. Sanders. Just didn't have a spot for him on the depth chart. We're hoping that we can stay relatively healthy on the interior of the offensive line. Part of what allows us to do this is that Jason Slowey and William Campbell are both getting paid pretty well as backups, and they can back up at the left guard position as well as center, right guard, respectively. On to centers, Rob Hardy is going to be a beast at the center spot. Finally, a center who can get in there. You can see he's huge, 335. That's 30 pounds heavier than Jason Slowey, and strength of 97. I mean, by center standards, Jason Slowey is pretty strong at 91. Rob Hardy, though, just hugely dominant. His run blocking and his pass blocking, as of right now, are pretty lackluster, but his impact blocking for an interior guy is great. And his speed, his acceleration, his awareness is all there where it needs to be. We'll need to work up his stamina just a bit, but he is going to be a great prospect. We totally made the right call selecting him at 11th overall. I'm very, very happy with that pick. He might have been the best player available in that draft at his position. Not that the center position is as important on every team as, let's say quarterback, but he could be the best positional player in the draft, which is great that we got him. And Slowey, again, sticking around as a backup for the next 3 seasons. Great to have that investment. The other player who re-upped with us this offseason, or just recently as the season progressed, was Brandon Mosley. Brandon Mosley, 4 years, $10 million, just 2 of which was guaranteed. A great deal for him. Not a dominant right guard, but a very talented one nonetheless. Great speed, strength at his position. He's got great run blocking skills. We'll have to work up his pass blocking a bit, which is probably why his overall number isn't any better than it currently is, but definitely a guy who any team would want to have starting. William Campbell, again, he's going to be starting this season for us at the left guard spot because of the injury to Keithan Cross. At least right now, that's where he'll be, and we'll see how things go as time progresses. Right tackle position, Luke Jokel there, and Byron Bell replaces Cameron Bradfield as his backup. Bell was selected signed in free agency, a big guy, 6'5", 339. As you can see, a bit of a project with his blocking being what it is. However, he's got a lot of strength. He's got very limited mobility. His speed is truly terrible, even by tackle standards. But that's what you get when you're paying a guy as little as we are paying him. At the left end position, we were forced, again, another last-minute cut that I really didn't want to make, but we were forced to cut Billy Wynn, who we originally brought over 2 years ago. Part of the reason we decided to cut him was that his development was relatively slow, not where we were hoping it would have been, and he was an upcoming free agent anyway, so we were probably going to lose him. And so Gibson is currently our only player on the depth chart at the left end position. Again, part of the reason why we had to cut, we only have one backup, or I shouldn't even say that. The reason we have no backups at the left guard and left end position is because we are carrying 4 running backs, which has been necessary over the past couple of years because we've always had at least 2 running backs get hurt over the course of the season, and because of the late addition of Michael Crabtree to the wide receiver core. But with that being said, Gibson can hold down the fort, and we are stacked at the right end position. Check this out. We traded Andre Branch away. Andre Branch was a developing right end and had some skills. 85 overall, 26 years of age. However, the issue was we upped Thaddeus Gibson on the other side last year to a new contract that paid him pretty well. And Andre Branch was in the last year of his deal. He was going to want a big raise. And so we traded him away to the Cowboys along with a 6th-round pick in exchange for the Cowboys' 1st-round pick. So we get we burn a 6th, but we get a 1st-rounder in exchange for that. And what that was designed to do is open up this spot for Earl Shorter, who was their 4th-round selection, who's going to be a beast in the National Football League. 83 overall already as a 22-year-old rookie, pass rusher. A guy with 88s for both of his moves. Already great block shedding pursuit is there. His tackling is better than almost anybody at the defensive end position. Then he's got the speed, the strength, the acceleration to be a dominant pass rusher. However, what happened was, again, as I said, when we picked up Michael Crabtree, some guys, they demand huge money when they're become free agents, and then they don't get scooped up till after the draft. And that's what's allowed us to sign this gentleman, DeMarcus Ware, also known as one of the best pass rushers in the history of the NFL. 33 years of age, this former Dallas Cowboy, who's 97 overall, because despite the fact that he's 6'4", 260, his acceleration is 95, which is ridiculous. He signed with us for just under $9 million. 1 year, $8.9 million. And what this allows us to do is decide, first of all, it provides us great depth because last year we had Gibson get hurt. Gibson's been out for stretches of time in both of his 2 seasons with us. So that allows us to go ahead and say, hey, boom, Earl Shorter, you're now the starter. The other thing that it allows us to do is hopefully get after the quarterback. We weren't doing enough of that last year. Now we have we have one dominant and one real blue chip pass rusher on the right side who hopefully can stay healthy better than Andre Branch and also get to the quarterback better than Andre Branch. And to me, the trade makes a lot of sense because we are able to pick up an extra 1st-rounder for next season. Moving on from their defensive tackle position, exactly the same as last year, with the exception of Von Martin taking over for the departed Roy Miller. Left outside linebacker, exactly the same as last year. No reason to change something that's working so well. The only other change here at middle linebacker spot, Perry Riley out, Ray Lewis in at the backup spot. Ray Lewis, just a 1-year player for us, but a guy who can come in, be a dominant special teamer, and somebody who has all the physical abilities, despite the fact that they are 38 years of age. As you can see, his speed still up in the 80s, his acceleration is still up in the 80s. And for a guy who, we need leaders on this team because we're generally speaking a very young team. The total number of players we have over the age of 30, last year we had 1, and that was Darren Sproles, who's since retired. Marcel Reese is 30, and aside from that, we have many players in their late 20s, but DeMarcus Ware is our only player who's really 30 plus at the age of 33, and so we add Ray Lewis to come in, be a leader for 1 season, and help some guys develop. And again, with Darrell Washington missing time last season, we cannot afford to have that happen again and to not get elite play out of our middle linebacker spot, and that's what's going to happen. Also coming free after the draft and free agency, Donald Butler, the former San Diego Charger, 26 years of age, 82 overall. This is a kid who I think could be a starter in the league. He's got great physicals, 84 speed, 93 acceleration, 84 agility, very Darrell Washington-like in that regard. I'm hoping to re-up him at the end of the season long term, so Lewis will leave, but Butler will step into that backup role. I don't know if Butler's going to command too much money, but we have him this year for just $1.7 million, which is great. Right outside linebacker, no change here. Xavier Good and Torrey Meyer. Torrey Meyer is on the IR. The reason for that was we really needed a roster spot. I was hoping to cut him because I would have rather cut him and kept somebody like Ace Sanders or kept somebody like Billy Wynn. However, he was injured, so we placed him on IR to get his roster spot back. So he will not be available to play for us this season. But Xavier Gooden was such a beast last year, we won't need him. No change to the cornerback spot. No new players, no guys coming in, leaving whatever. Jefferson, Gratz, McCray, Greenwood, Van Dyke, and Harris still there. All young, all under contract for a minimum of 2 more seasons. And just a dominant group of guys that's only going to get better as time goes on. Terrell Jefferson, last year's first overall pick, 90 overall at the age of 23. Amazing man coverage skills, amazing physicals with the 95 speed, the 90 strength. Just a guy who's going to be absolutely dominant and no reason to change what's working so well. Free safety, again, no change here. Antoine Blake, Josh Evans, both young, very physical players who are doing a great job at that position. And strong safety, no change here. Chris Brzezinski comes back at really what's below market value. He could be a starter on other teams. who don't have a rookie sensation in front of him. Yet he was willing to come back on just a 3-year, $3 million deal. So just making $1 million a year. That's not guaranteed at all. No guaranteed money in his contract, but he's willing to come back, and we're happy to have him. The reality is it's always great to have the kind of depth that we have at this position, and he's got 93 speed. That's another thing. So he gets down there on kick cover. His tackling is very good. His pursuit is good. He'll be a guy who can really help us on special teams and in the actual field of play if we have the if we have an injury occur. Justin Tucker comes in to replace Josh Scobie. He's one of the best highly paid players in the kickers in the league. I should say, not players, just kickers. But to me, he's worth it. He's got the consistency. He's got great kick power, 95, great kick accuracy, 96. And Brian Anger, one of the league's best punters. I checked Brian Anger's wishes for contract negotiations. Anger is looking for more than $3 million a season to punt. So likely his last year with us because we can't pay a punter. I mean, we have a lot of draft. I mean, we have the space to do it, but I don't know if I can ever legitimize paying a punter that much money. So unlikely he's back next year, but that's all right. And here's what our picks look like. This year we traded away our 5th and 6th last season. However, we picked up an extra first rounder this year, and we have everybody else's picks, or all of our original picks. And then for the 2017 draft year, we traded away our 4th to get Bruce Campbell out of Oakland. But aside from that, to me, this is the best roster we've put together ever for this team. This is the season where we decided we were going to make the playoffs. We said year 1 is just about getting fresh blood. Year 2 is about getting better than year 3, because if we want to get to our Super Bowl goal by year 5, the goal was for season 3 to be our first playoff season. Last year, had it not been for some key injuries, I think we could have actually made the playoffs, finishing 7-9, just 1 or 2 games out of playoff spot. We were in playoff contention. To me, the best part of that was going into the final year of the season, or final week of the season, we still had an opportunity to make the playoffs. We were in the playoff picture 15 games into the season. This year, it's playoffs or bust. We have to get in this year, particularly with the 1-year investments in guys like Crabtree, guys like Ware. I would be very disappointed with this season, despite the injuries at left tackle and left guard. I would be very disappointed this season if we were not able to get into the playoffs. So hopefully we're able to do that, and only time will tell, I guess. I'll see you guys in 1 week. The midway point of season number 3, the 2015 NFL campaign set to get underway. Go Jags, go. Until next time, I'm Tuxedo T-Shirt. Keep joining me on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays for practice videos. And yeah, thanks again. Until then, here we go. First game of the season, Jags at Pats. We'll see how that one plays out. Until next time, I'm Tuxedo T-Shirt, and I'm out.